guys, you're listening to the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast, and you are joined by your usual hosts in their usual voices. Myself, Josh Hartley, Ben Porter.
Hello.
And Charlotte Porter.
Hello.
Hello. And we have got an actual metric F-ton of news for you. Look, I censored myself there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Class.
Yeah, classy.
Yeah.
For you this week. I think our main topic's going to be Kickstarter again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again. But a few other little tidbits before we dive into everything.
Yeah, so it's been quite a few announcements. I guess it's getting to that time that we're in the second half of the year, and I guess a lot of the companies are gearing up towards Christmas and that sort of thing.
Oh, don't forget Adepticon is around the corner as well.
Adepticon,
Gen Con.
Gen Con, I beg your pardon.
We've got Gen Con, and then we've got Spiel, so
Yep.
all the marketing goes into overdrive around this time of year. So first things first, Wizards of the Coast have just announced that they're going to be doing a Transformers card
They
game.
have.
This is going to be
excited.
This is going to be freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I really like it. So they've released a couple of like sort of teaser images for it. The art style is very much in line with the 80s cartoon because they look like robots as opposed to the movies because they don't look like just awful. And I believe what the setup is, you play one of the Transformers.
Yeah.
And obviously you get the ability to transform. So the character card is double-faced.
Ah, okay.
So you've got your robot on one side and your vehicle form or dinosaur form or whatever on the other. And your deck is a deck of like actions that your Transformer can do. So things like move, fight, whatever. I mean, Wizards of the Coast are definitely the right kind of people to pull this off. Really makes sense given actually that of course they are owned by Hasbro, who also own Transformers.
Yeah, so no weird stuff with the license going on there.
Yep. So they should have a pretty free reign to use all the source material available to them, and there is a lot of source material for Transformers as well.
Transformers also a massively popular IP.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole generation of kids that grew up with them that are now adults who I think are more than happy to jump on that nostalgia train.
Yeah.
But it's one of these franchises, a bit like Pokemon, where it's like it is going to be there until the world runs out of 12-year-olds.
Yep. And frankly, nerdy adults as well.
Yeah.
So they announced that they are looking for an August release for the United States. They haven't given any other indication for other territories, including, of course, the UK.
Yeah.
We will update you as we find out more. Funnily enough, Transformers universe is probably one of the few fictions where I would want to be the good guys over the bad guys.
Oh, you're an
I was about
Autobot,
to
are you?
ask, who's your favourite?
Oh, it has to be Bumblebee. Bumblebee's awesome.
I like Starscream. I've always liked Starscream.
Decepticon.
He's the most deceptive Decepticon.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, no, yeah.
I actually have Starscream
You do?
Hey, there
You
we
have
go.
Starscream.
right here.
There you go.
He's a
Awesome.
bit battered, but yeah, it's the
Nice.
man himself.
I do have-
Spirit Transformer.
I do have an Optimus Prime at home as
We've
well.
got Optimus Prime down there as well.
I've got a few different
Awesome.
Optimus Primes.
Yeah. Are you an Optimus Prime kind of guy?
I would say so.
Is he your man? Your
freedom-
man robot lorry thing?
Freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
There we go.
Let's put Starscream down.
But I
Wiser words than any of our modern day politicians.
Optimus Prime for president.
Yeah. Oh god, someone must have done the Barack Obama hope thing
Yeah.
with Optimus Prime's face instead.
It's got to be.
It's
out there somewhere.
inevitable. It's inevitable.
Yeah. So
We'll make it happen otherwise.
we're all excited for that
Yep.
one.
Yeah, we'll give you more details as and when we get them, but
Yeah.
hopefully we can get our grubby little mitts on
Yes.
that sooner rather than later.
So another announcement. Little bit late here, but it's still worth mentioning. Cthulhu Death May Die.
Yes.
Ah,
You've
yes.
probably heard of this.
Yes, another Cthulhu game. I mean, I say
With
this
a big pool.
Yeah, a big
Literally.
miniature as
Is
well.
it a miniature technically?
No, it's just
It's a maxiture?
if you haven't seen the photo of the Cthulhu model that they're doing with this project. It is about the size of a toddler.
Yeah.
It's huge.
I love it. I think it is gorgeous, grotesquely gorgeous.
But this is the thing, right?
Thing I love.
Cool Mini or not, you seldom can you fault their miniatures.
Yeah.
The stuff's great. The jury's out as far as I'm concerned on the gameplay. Tin Hat foil for a minute. I actually think that they're not finished developing the game.
Okay.
I think that's the main reason that it's 2 years away from...
That is a long time to wait.
Because not only has it been the cost, it's been out of pocket for that long a period.
Yeah, it's like £200 if you want the big Cthulhu, and let's face it, if you're going in for this, you're probably going to want the big Cthulhu.
In for a penny. It's like the old phrase, in for a penny, in for a trans-dimensional elder god.
Yeah.
Well, there's been lots on Facebook. I don't know if either of you can clarify, but do you need the miniature for the game?
So, this is the thing, because a lot of people have said, can I not just get the big Cthulhu? And apparently it is tied into an expansion for the game.
So could you get the game without the miniature?
Because you can always get the base game. You don't need that specific expansion.
That's fine.
I think what we should do, right, is we get the base game, and for the moment when we need the giant Cthulhu,
get a toddler.
We get a teddy bear.
A teddy bear.
And that would be us, like our crack team of, because this is set in the 1920s, right?
Yeah.
Of course. Our crack team of gangsters and flapper girls will be fighting a giant teddy bear in Arkham.
Maybe, even because we've got some Cthulhu snowmen that somebody crocheted us for Christmas one year. Could maybe get a nice big crocheted Cthulhu.
Giant crocheted Cthulhu.
Could maybe dress up Optimus Prime as Cthulhu.
There we are. There we go.
So Rob DeVoe is involved in this one, which is the main pull for a lot of people. Rob DeVoe, the daddy of the legacy format or genre.
Yes, the other half of the developers for Pandemic Legacy, to name but a few. So
they've got they've got a load of heavyweights involved in this. I think I've said to you as well, they now have a small team of sculptors that used to work for Games Workshop. So they've certainly got the pedigree. It's been met with controversy because Cool Mini or Not still have a number of projects that have not yet been fulfilled. A lot of people stamping their feet about that. And they also have started doing these incremental pledges.
You've got to get in early, and then so you were saying to me like the first 50 for the giant Cthulhu one was
you
like an early bird
like the car
thing.
boot sale thing, you know, like you turn up and the first 10 are like cheaper, and then they increase the prices as they go. So that feels a little bit sketchy.
Are you getting it?
Nah.
No.
2 years is a long time to be out of pocket
we
for
did
£200.
consider it.
We did consider it, but as soon as the main thing is like I maybe could have paid the money, but 2 years is way too long.
Okay.
To be out of pocket £200 for a game. Also, is it going to be better than the Fantasy Flight Cthulhu stuff?
We're also still waiting on some Cool Mini or Not games coming.
Yeah.
We're still waiting on
A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah. Which is shipping this month, as far as I'm aware. It's the stuff has arrived in the UK, and they've begun shipping it to backers, to be fair. But Cthulhu Death May Die, it's like...
the thing is, will it go to retail?
Probably.
So, you know, you might have to pay a bit more for it. You might not get a giant Cthulhu miniature with it, but does anyone need a giant Cthulhu
It'll go
miniature?
to retail, and the other thing is, somebody that I know will probably be getting it.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I would probably have played it like a handful of times. So it's... I don't know. I just... I wasn't really sold on it. But with the whole Cthulhu mythos, I mean, Arkham Horror, the card game, is not just the best Cthulhu game out there just now. It is up there as one of the best tabletop games. I fail to see what Cthulhu Death May Die can offer that is going to be better than the Arkham Horror living card game.
For a lot of people, it's probably just the miniatures.
giant miniature.
But I feel like I already have a bunch of other games that are sufficiently cinematic.
Yeah.
The thing I love about the Arkham Horror card game is that it's all playing out in my head, and it's relatively quick and easy to set up. But yeah, enough about that. Eclipse has launched a new edition on Kickstarter. Hipster Twilight Imperium, as I like to call it.
Yes, so this is the redux of the classic game.
Yeah.
So that's just gone live on Kickstarter. Do we know how long's left on that?
I think it went up about a week ago, so there's probably still a few weeks yet on it.
Has it smashed its goals already?
Done very well from what I understand, which was to be expected. It's because Eclipse is one of these games where until this campaign it was very difficult to get a hold of, and people were paying a lot of money to get it, so it stands to reason that it's getting a new edition. And the last Kickstarter that I feel it's worth mentioning is the Homestar Runner people.
Yes.
Have a lot of people will remember them as the really weird but hilarious internet cartoon that was around in the early noughties. So you had the eponymous Homestar Runner, who was the main character, and you had like Strong Bad and the Cheat and all these other wacky characters. They have just launched a game on Kickstarter called Trogdor.
Double exclamation mark.
Yep.
Trogdor!
How does the double exclamation mark make you feel, Ben?
It's suitably metal.
Yeah.
I feel.
So for anyone that doesn't know, Ben has... What would you call it?
Like an irritation from over punctuations.
Yes.
But I feel for Trogdor, it's applicable.
Okay, this is the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah. So Trogdor is a dragon. So Trogdor's part of a fictional setting within the Homestar Runner universe.
Sure.
And he's a dragon that runs around the countryside, burninating the peasants and their thatched roof cottages.
As a dragon is one to do.
Yeah. So it's a cooperative puzzle game where you and up to 6, or you and up to 5 players, it supports up to 6 players, are running around a map trying to burninate the countryside.
Does he have an arm?
Yeah, he's got a big muscly arm coming out his back.
Yeah, why not?
If a dragon is not terrifying
why
enough.
not? I thought that was a wing at first.
But you know, so the game includes all these little meeples, right? But it actually includes little bits of fire that you put on top of the peasant meeples.
It actually looks really good. I love it.
To show that they're on fire.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And you've got the heroes trying to disrupt things. So each of the players plays a cultist who has summoned Trogdor.
Right.
And you're trying to lay waste to the countryside, and these annoying heroes are trying to stop you.
I really like the sound of this.
Yeah.
I really do.
So, just when I'd said to myself that I was getting a bit fed up with Kickstarter, this came out.
Have you backed it?
You were ready to come off Kickstarter entirely.
I think I might have to.
Yeah.
But we'll discuss that in a bit more detail later.
Yes. So before we move on to the main segment, hopefully by the time that we will. By the time you finish listening, by the time you are listening to this recording, we will have done our first proper stream.
Yep.
On Twitch. Yes.
We are going to be having a crack at Night of the Zealot.
Return to Night of the Zealot.
To Night of the Zealot.
Yeah, it's an expansion for the base set from the Arkham Horror card game. So we'll see how it goes. We've got a fairly basic setup, but we'll see how we go.
Yes. So
it'll be our first time streaming.
Yeah, and we'll keep you informed as and when we do more. Okay.
Exciting.
Yep. So in terms of what we've been up to,
yes,
we were at Common Ground.
Yes.
On Saturday for Shadespire organised play.
Yeah, it's the first one of, I mean, not counting the Grand Clash, the first one that we've all took part in.
First one that I've been part of.
Yeah, that's true, actually, yes. Yeah. So, how did it go for you guys, then?
Very well.
Yeah.
Not so well for me.
No.
But what I did realise, so I do play Shadespire. I wouldn't say I'm as, not necessarily I'm not as into it, but I don't play as much of it as Ben or Josh does. But also actually realising that my deck is designed against Ben's deck because there were 2 dwarf players and both of them I drew or I came really close to.
Yeah.
Whereas Josh's army just walked right over me.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't. That's the whole point in my deck, though. I don't fight you.
No,
I just go and sit on objectives and do my thing and just go, ha ha!
Yeah.
So I played you first and I was really discouraged.
Yeah,
because
I'm
I
sorry.
thought, oh, great, here I go, I've got another. But by the time I then played Alex, who had came along, not saying that I felt good because I didn't beat him, but I did give him, I think I did give him a bit of a run for his money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's, like I said, when I realised that my deck is designed to just run
counter
interference in yours, really, cause mayhem in
but
yours.
you hit, although you say you didn't do all that well, you had quite a lot of close games.
Yeah, I came in fourth
against quite
out of
experienced.
4.
No one needed to know that last part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Ben, how did you get on?
I did well.
Oh, come on, just
You're so
say
modest.
it. Just come
You're
on.
so modest, then.
Okay, I won.
Yeah.
You got a
I
nice,
won overall,
nice trophy.
This was, I guess this was I managed to win all of my matches, which I was quite chuffed with. A few of them were, in fact 2 of them, and they were both against you guys. I won by 1 point.
Yeah.
So although that does sound impressive that I did win all my games, there were a couple of them that I won by very, very small margins.
I just remember there was one that I played with Alex where I was, and it's the only one where actually I was in the lead right until the very last activation, which was Alex, and he decided to draw a ploy, but that ploy meant that he could reactivate a character, and he stole it. Stole it from me.
But it's a game that turns on small lunges.
Yeah.
Because the game that I beat Josh by 1 point, the way that I did it was you put a key on a character.
Yeah.
Then I played Confusion to push him off an objective.
Yeah, that
was it. It was a 2-point swing.
Yeah.
It was and my close game was against Alex, where we actually had scored the same number of points, and I only won because I happened to had more guys and objectives than he did as well. Which is that we had to actually go right through the rule book to check what the tiebreaker was.
And this is one of the things that it's worth being mindful of, is that there's a couple of things that if you think your game is going to be close that you should do. The first one is to make sure that you've got a fighter in each territory, just in case your opponent has denial or contained.
Yeah.
And then the other one is that you want to make sure that you've got at least as many fighters on objectives as your opponent does, just in case it's a tie.
Yeah.
And we just got the new leader pack, so I'm looking forward
to... Got the new leader pack, and we've got the new board with the trap tiles on it as well.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to having to go with the trap tiles.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of things in my deck that can move people about, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking forward to trying that out. We've played a bit more Soul Wars as well. Charlotte and myself had a go at that.
Yeah.
So we were saying that we do feel that of the 2 armies in the Soul Wars box set, the Stormcast is definitely the more powerful.
Yeah.
You also said that you found the Stormcast were a lot easier to use.
I did. I was a bit overwhelmed by the Night Haunt.
Because there's a lot of synergies to keep track of.
All the sort of bits, because there's a lot of stuff that actually I forgot to do that probably would have been a lot of buffs, a lot of things like that. Also, the very first time we played it, we decided not to introduce the realm rules.
Yeah.
Which then meant I had another 7 things to think about on top of
Yeah.
what I was doing, and I did feel a bit overwhelmed nowhere near as, like, I don't remember feeling like that with the Stormcast. I have played Stormcast before. I am familiar with the way the units and stuff are set up, but I was actually quite surprised at how difficult I found the Night Hunt.
I feel vindicated for losing my game against.
And I suppose with a game like Age of Sigmar, it really underpinned to me that it's worthwhile when you're starting out, at least, to pick an army and stick with it for a little while, just until you've learned the rules.
I preferred the fluff for the Night Hunt. I love the models. I think it would be the army that calls to me, but I think in terms of being able to learn the game and the mechanics of the game, I would be better with the Stormcast.
Yeah. By the time this podcast has gone out, we'll have done our stream, but also we are going to Settlers.
We are.
In Hamilton.
Yes.
Because they're having an Age of Sigmar Champions demo day.
Yes.
There we go. Yes.
This, of course, the card game that we've already spoken about quite a bit. And hopefully in the next episode we'll be able to talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm
looking forward to it.
But on to Tweet of the Week.
Yes.
Tweet of the Week.
There we go.
That's it.
Is that the jingle now?
I am going to save that separately and always have it.
Yeah.
So this tweet's actually... It didn't go up this week. It went up probably about a week or so ago.
And it's a friend of the show?
It's a friend of the show, but it's just to say that the reason it's going up now is because we did miss a week.
Yes.
But, it's from Andy Lewis. His Twitter handle is Sonic H.
Hi, Andy.
Hello.
And it says, "Who plays Gloomhaven solo? You're talking shite, mate."
End of tweet.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Straight to the point. I like it.
Having actually played Gloomhaven this week.
Yes, we did play Gloomhaven this week.
We did. Almost forgot to mention it.
Yeah. Hi, Kevin.
Not the kind of game that lends itself particularly well to solo game.
No, I think that would be overwhelming.
So
I would never go near it. I would be put off playing it if that was the case.
Whoever suggested that Gloomhaven is played primarily as a solo game is probably talking shite.
Yeah. Worth noting though, Andy doesn't have your Scottish accent, so
yeah.
I do want it. I want to hear Andy say it.
Maybe, yeah. Andy, send us a wee recording.
Aye, there we go.
Yeah,
there we go.
I think Andy is of Scottish descent, though. He referred to Scotland as the motherland. So he's either an adopted Scot and feels very strongly about that, or is of Scottish descent.
All right.
In which case he can swear with the same ire that Scottish people. We did play a wee bit more Gloomhaven.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Yeah.
We got to see the map. The map's very impressive.
Oh, the map's beautiful.
There's so much stuff.
So, Kickstarter again.
What's going on?
I do feel that people do know our feelings on Kickstarter. It is the monster you love to hate.
In principle, I love the idea of Kickstarter. I love that anybody can go on there with a good idea and can have people help them make that happen.
Yeah, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think that Kickstarter is policed as effectively as it should be, and I also think that a lot of companies do abuse it.
Yeah.
And the problem is that they're going to continue to abuse it because the fact of the matter is that Kickstarter just makes too much money off of them.
Yeah.
So what debacle has...
well, there's been quite a few this week, actually.
Yeah, debacles. What's the plural for debacle? Is there a collective noun for it? Like
debacles?
A shamble.
A shamble of debacles.
Yeah. So I guess the main one is there's a game called Overturn.
Rising Sands.
Overturn Rising Sands.
Yeah.
Overturn : Rising Sands.
Okay.
By a company called
Foxtail Studios.
Foxtail Studios. Thank you. The game looks brilliant. It does. It looks like a sort of skirmish game set in the 1001 Nights type universe.
Oh, cool. Yeah?
Yeah.
Sounds good so far.
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
So the problem is that, first of all, suspicions were raised when people noticed that their rulebook was almost identical to the rulebook for Massive Darkness.
Okay.
I mean, we're not just talking format, like whole
sections of it. So in terms of the layout,
whole sections of text.
So just a copy paste job.
Yeah.
And they're done by totally different people, right?
Allegedly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty bad plagiarism. My 2 cents on that issue, though, is my understanding is with copyright law, IP is copyrightable, but game mechanics and game rules are not.
Correct.
So I think that's with. So I think basically things like Pathfinder effectively being Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 was fine, particularly given that was an old edition of Dungeons and Dragons.
One of the examples
released.
that we've often used is that you're not allowed to, if you have cards in your game and you have a mechanic where you rotate them to show that they've been expended or something's been done to them, you're not allowed to call it tapping.
Because that's Magic the Gatherings thing.
They're exhausted.
But but loads of other games do it, right? And they'll use a term like exhaust or rotate or something like that. It's functionally the same.
Yeah.
But you're not allowed to call it tapping.
But that's fine, right? You know, there's loads of collectible card games out there use that kind of mechanic, but they're all different enough.
Yeah.
Right.
But then it got even more bizarre.
Yeah.
Right.
An accusation at this
Plagiarised.
point. Plagiarised their own bio. They've taken the bio from Mythic Games and used that as their bio on Kickstarter. They then took the return policy from another game. I can't remember which game it was. And the other thing was, apparently they're a Pakistani company that are based in Canada.
Okay.
But when they copied over the return policy, they never changed any of the stuff to dollars. They just kept it. Sorry, they never changed anything to Canadian dollars. They just kept it all as US dollars. So they never even changed the wording of it or anything. So that's the Kickstarter itself, not the game.
Whole lot of plagiarism going on. There's been a lot of people saying that the Overturn campaign is a scam.
Right.
It's a bit of a leap from plagiarism to outright scam.
Well,
it's definitely dishonest.
It's dishonest, but
dishonesty.
There's still an original product somewhere under all of this, as far as we know.
Yeah.
Well, but so right. What have the studio said themselves then? Have they passed any comment on these?
Well, one of the things as well, I think they were meant to do was they've been saying that they would get some play videos up, and they've not been able to produce anything so far. I believe that they were responding, and basically, I'm trying to remember exactly what they said, but they made some comment how said something like they tried to refute what was being said.
Okay.
But then they just was like, okay, and then they've just used a copy and paste for the remainder of the comments.
So they've actually, in their refute to the accusation that they were plagiarising, they plagiarised something.
Yeah, essentially.
It's bizarre. It was one of these things that, like, as I do, like, I like to try and keep abreast of what's happening in Kickstarter. I check it every so often, and as I was flicking through the stuff on Kickstarter, I saw Overturn and thought, that looks cool, and just saved it. Didn't think anything of it. And this game had smashed all of its goals, by the way. It was on track to be funded.
Yeah.
But as of recording, it was suspended by Kickstarter yesterday, which was the 17th of July.
But talking about Kickstarter and maybe questioning Kickstarter's responsibility, culpability, was it the pledge manager stepped aside?
Pledge manager and backer kit's the other one, I think.
I think it was crowd manager.
Oh, was it?
It's crowd
there's
manager,
a few of like
pledging.
third party organisations that fulfil pledges.
They stepped out not yesterday but the day before.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's been since then.
So it meant that it was going to be a whole mess because Kickstarter basically provide you for a space to show your project, but the fulfilling of the pledges and taking the information, all that's handled by a bunch of third party sites.
Yeah.
So for me, there's an original product in there somewhere. I'm not saying that plagiarism is okay by any stretch. It's not, but to leap to it being a scam is maybe being a little bit evangelistic. For me, the main concern within all of this is the fact that page that was full of plagiarism was vetted by Kickstarter and allowed to go live?
Well, I don't know to what degree Kickstarter vet. I mean, that would take. I can't imagine a human is actually looking at everything that goes up on Kickstarter.
There are EndNote and Turn-In,
yeah.
which are systems that I know through the universities, which basically have all the information retained on database, and therefore will scan the current one and compare them.
Well, this is just it, because I mean, it's fine and well you saying about a human looking through all that. You don't need to. And you would think a company like Kickstarter, who I think now turns over billions.
Yep.
They should have something in place to check for that, right? Especially when it is all creative stuff.
Yeah.
And because they are quite they talk. There's loads of stuff about copyright all over the website. This is quite basic for a company of that size and of that repute to be slipping up on.
Well, my thing with Kickstarter is that it appears that they're not wanting to take responsibility, or refusing to acknowledge that actually it is their site, it is their program. I feel they should take a stake of the responsibility.
They're facilitators,
yeah, exactly.
So they do have a responsibility to ensure that things like this don't happen.
Yeah.
Do they have a legal responsibility though? I mean, like it's a different thing, right? But see, if you use PayPal to purchase a product and the product is not what you were expecting, or there was something wrong with it, PayPal can facilitate you trying to get the money back.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's not their fault.
Yeah.
They just carried out the transaction for you. Do Kickstarter, legally speaking, is Kickstarter in the same kind of boat?
No.
Well, okay.
No?
Not as far as I know.
Okay.
Certainly, as far as I'm aware, certainly as far as tabletop goes, this is the first time something like this has happened. But the difference here is the campaign's been suspended, so no money's been collected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But any time that something has gone pear-shaped on Kickstarter, the only way that I've heard of backers getting their money back is if someone else has stepped in and is feeling charitable.
Yeah.
And most of the things with Kickstarter historically have been in the actual manufacturing process, not the actual Kickstarting campaign.
No.
Most of the issues come about
it's
when it
afterwards.
comes to delivery, or getting Having said that, though, there is another thing that came up within the past couple of days. Another campaign. Dr. Horrible's Evil League of Evil, which has funded. Again, there's still quite a while to go on it, but they've advised, some of the wording they've used has basically indicated that they don't have the license for the game.
It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is another thing, right? Like, because you have to submit your campaign to be approved before it goes live on Kickstarter. Checking that someone actually has the license for something, that's a pretty big deal.
Yes.
So I think that whilst there are a lot of things here that Kickstarter don't currently do, there are things happening here where I think Kickstarter are going to have to change their approach.
Yeah.
And I could actually see it, if this escalates, being a situation where governments could get involved.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it all comes down. The difficulty is, right, you could argue, well, consumer protection and all of that. But as we've said before on the podcast, you are not a consumer when you're engaging with Kickstarter.
No, you're an investor.
You're an investor, and investments can go wrong.
Yeah.
So I really don't know how it's going to pan out.
But this is the problem, is that Kickstarter have fed into this ambiguity because it behaves like a shop. But then when people don't get what they want from the shop, they say, oh, you're an investor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is behaving now more like a glorified pre-order service. So it has to re-identify itself. It has to acknowledge more responsibility for these things that are happening, or I really do question if it can carry on, because it is facilitating fraud.
Yeah.
I actually wonder if if it's a bit like, now bear with me, but looking at it in terms of video games, where for a while a lot of games were being rushed out without actually all the proper, they weren't checking all the ticking all the.
It was 2013. There was like a ream of games.
Yeah, games
that had been rushed out to meet deadlines, and they were terrible. And it was prolific games as well.
Yeah.
But I wonder if maybe Kickstarter is creating or putting a pressure potentially on manufacturers, on board game designers, to create a game and get it sold and get it out to market before it's maybe ready to.
So Kickstarter itself, I don't think is putting that pressure on people, but I think that the customer base around it, because the fact of the matter is that although we say they're investors, they're not. They are to all intents and purposes customers pre-ordering things.
Well, letter of the law, they're not though.
It's at a stage where it's ambiguous as to whether they're investors or customers.
Yeah, it's kind of like if it looks like pre-ordering and it smells like pre-ordering and it sounds like you're pre-ordering, then how on earth are you not pre-ordering a game?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a really weird time. The thing that I keep thinking as we're talking about this is like, is this the first example of like board game catfishing on the internet? Like, what you're expecting is this great game with lovely looking miniatures and, you know, nice fleshed out rule book, but when it shows up and it's in the flesh, it's just another copy of Zombies.
The other thing that I was going to say about Kickstarter is, because actually Kickstarter, whenever we talk about it, we're talking about it in terms of board games, but there is so much on Kickstarter, and I wonder if any of the other
the market goes way beyond
have
tabletop.
the same problem or have the same issues that are coming up through the board game community.
I can imagine some of them must have, right? I mean, there's certain things that it's going to be harder to do this sort of thing than others, right?
I mean,
I can't imagine that this is a problem exclusive to board games on Kickstarter.
No, because although games are the biggest portion of Kickstarter, certainly having used Kickstarter from the early days, and seeing what it is now, I feel quite dissatisfied with what it's become. Right. So I think the first project I backed was a guy designing his own dwarf miniatures, and he just put up like photographs of the green stuff sculpts that he's made and some of his sketches. Yeah. And he did pretty well from that. Yeah. Wasn't spectacular, but he did okay. Oathsworn, I think he's actually got his own company now. Yeah. He's actually designed a tabletop role playing game and some other things, but then like we're looking right now, and like Cool Mini or Not is by far like the most funded project in games. Yeah. And
987% funded, just to be precise.
That's a lot of percent.
That's a lot of percent.
And so it's just shy of $2 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that product's not going to be with those people for 2 years.
Yeah.
Yep. This is it though, like you Cool Mini or Not, love this business model. Zero risk, right? You get your money up front for your project. You don't have to go to the bank for a loan and pay interest and arrangement fees. You all you have to do is give Kickstarter a cut.
Yeah.
But it's like
Kickstarter are going to love it too.
Yeah, but it's like you've said before, because people, because that's the thing that keeps coming up, is that it minimises the risk. Why should they not have to absorb the risk? Because like you said, if Joe Bloggs down the road decides that he's going to start out his own plumbing business, he has to pay for his own van, pay for his own tools, and he doesn't have anywhere near the money or resources Cool Mini or Not does.
I know. Look, I'm not saying it whether it's right or wrong. It's just that's Cool Mini or Not's thinking. Kickstarter are perfectly fine with it because they make a shed load of money of fees.
And they will make a shed load of money of fees with this.
So really, it's kind of up to us to maybe push for, the little guys on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Give them a bit of the limelight rather than just throwing our money at the likes of Cool Mini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm bashing Cool Mini a lot, but
no,
they're one of the biggest people who do this. So
I think the bashing is justified.
Yeah.
Because they're churning games out.
Yeah.
They're absolutely churning them out. They cost a fortune. It's not as if, like Games Workshop churn out a lot of product.
Aye.
But it's product for all price ranges.
Yeah.
Cool Mini or not, don't do anything that's going to cost you less than £100.
Yep. So that's our thoughts on Kickstarter. On that cheery note. Until next time, thank you very much for listening, guys, and hope you enjoyed that, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Hi there, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. This is Ewan Bowers for the Unlucky Frog Gaming Podcast, executive producer. I believe that's my title. I believe I put enough into the Patreon. You too can put money into the Patreon. It's highly recommended. It helps these guys out. But if you're too cheap, there's always the Twitter and the Facebook page. You can get those on just searching Unlucky Frog Gaming. And there's also a website, www.unluckyfrog.com.
I want to be a producer. You can't. There can only be one producer, Tom.